I was 8 years old when I was told to search naked pictures for the very first time. And obviously, I found what I was looking for. And as I searched more, as I browsed more and more, I found a link. And that link led to a video. And I remember watching about the first 30 seconds of that video. Then my dad walked in and I was like, "Ee!" And then I closed the computer straight away. And I actually forgot about what I was doing on the computer. And then he left the room. Then, like an hour, 2 hours later, he asked to use my laptop. And I had forgotten what I was doing on that laptop. So he took my laptop, he opened it, and he was like, "Oh, what is this? What are you watching?" And yeah, he just gave me a lecture. He was like, "You shouldn't be watching this. This stuff isn't good for you." And obviously, I was just like, "I promise I won't do it again." And when I said I was going to stop looking at that stuff, I actually meant it. Then 2 years down the line, my very first sleepover, I was 10 years old. I was at one of my best friend's houses. I think there were 3 or 4 of us. Then we got bored, and he had this PS Vita. I don't know if you guys remember PS Vitas, but they were supposed to be like an innovation of the PSP, but nothing will ever top the PSP. But anyways, we're at my friend's house, and we were bored. It was like 11 p.m. And he was like, "Gee, you guys want to see something cool?" And obviously, we're like, "Yeah, let's see something cool." So then he goes onto the internet browser on his PS Vita. And he typed in the infamous website. And then he pressed enter. And then within 2 seconds, at our disposal, we had thousands, in fact, probably millions of videos of things that we should have been seeing. Of porn that was quite literally going to ruin us for the next few years. The funny thing is, like, I don't like to admit this stuff, but we genuinely watched it together. We didn't do anything else, but we were just looking at it. It's like, let's say you put like a no under 18 movie. That's what we're doing. We're just watching it. And now that I think back, that is that was extremely weird. So then that was like the first proper exposure to where I was like watching it, and I watched like more than 30 seconds. And then for the next 2 years, I was just watching it, like not doing anything, just literally just watching, like looking at it like this, which I find weird now. Then when I was in grade 7 for me, I was 12 years old. We were on cricket tour, and on the way to a game, we're talking about bad things.
I'm up to no good. For real.
Then one of my teammates was like, "When you're watching this stuff, you should also like just roll the dice as well." And I was like, "I've never done that." Keep in mind, we were in South Africa. I live in Zim, so it's like I was away from home. So in my mind, I was like, "I've never done that. Sounds interesting. I'll try when I get back home." So I remember when I got back home, the very first thing I did was take a shower, then do that. I rolled the dice for the very first time in my life. And so now I'd expose myself to the actual content, and I'd roll the dice for the first time. The reason I'm saying roll the dice, I don't know what YouTube's things are on saying the actual things, but I'm just saying watch the content and I roll the dice. And this happened when I was 12. So I only started watching when I say consistently, I mean like essentially every single day. I only started watching every single day when I was 15 years old. From 12 to 15, it was just sporadic. I would like watch once and I'd go 2 weeks without watching. Then for some reason, when I was 15 years old, I was like, right. So at that point, when I was 50, from about 15 to 17, I would watch every night. Like it would be my nightly routine. I would go to bed, switch off the lights, get the earphones, and I'd be like, right, it's time. And it even got to the point that sometimes I'll just watch before school. Like imagine, school started at 7:20. So for me to watch, shower, do everything before school, imagine how early I had to wake up to do that. It was genuinely like a priority in my life. So during this time of constant consumption, there were no physical effects. Like I think because I was 15, I was going through puberty, like I was raging with testosterone. So the physical effects, like it would have been very hard for me to suffer from those physical effects, but the psychological effects, they were infesting my brain. The very first effect and the most obvious one is I didn't see women as people. I saw them as objects for my pleasure. And fair enough, I didn't use any women for my pleasure. I just didn't. But whenever I'd see, let's say I'd be in public and I'd see like a beautiful girl, I wouldn't even think, this girl's pretty. I want to try to talk to her. I would think, this girl's pretty. I know what I'm going to do when I get home tonight. The second effect of this is that I had no drive and ambition. Well, I actually did have my ambition. From a young age, I've been extremely ambitious. I've always set huge goals for myself. But during this time where I was watching every day, I didn't hit 99% of my goals. The only goals that I hit were academic. But anything that involved discipline, that involved effort, I didn't hit. Because when the time came for me to do the hard, disciplined work, I'll just choose to go consume. I'll just go choose to roll the dice. And I'm like, in fact, I'll be like, okay, let me roll the dice now so that I'm in a calm state of mind. And then after that, after I'm relaxed, I'll start working. And, after 3 times you think that I would realize that, it didn't work. After rolling the dice, I'll just want to sleep. But I did it nearly every day for like 2 years. And because I had no drive and ambition, I didn't hit any of my goals. And because I didn't hit any of my goals, I felt like a shell of a man. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I was never proud of what I saw. When it was now time to look another man in his eyes, I couldn't do it. Because it's like subconsciously I knew I wasn't worthy to look this guy in the eye, because behind closed doors, I was wasting away my life. I was spending all my free time rolling the dice. I wasn't proud of who I was. I lacked confidence. I lacked essentially most good things, psychologically, of course. And a huge effect of this, or a huge downside to all of this, is that I knew it was wrong. I knew what I was doing wasn't good. So during this time, I couldn't pray, because I knew that after the prayer, like literally 2 minutes after the prayer, I was going to go back to rolling the dice. So during that time, I don't think, obviously in times of grief, in times of turmoil, I prayed, because that was the only thing I could do. But in times where things were all right, things weren't too bad, I just couldn't pray, because I knew that I was choosing sin over God. So then fast forward to the 2020 lockdown, where I was now 17 years old. I had a lot of free time on my hands because I wasn't going to school. So I decided that, I'm going to defeat this habit right now. And I had a definiteness of purpose. I knew for a fact that I was going to defeat this habit, that I was going to put it behind me once and for all. The very first thing that I did and you need to do if you want to get rid of this habit is you need to accept reality. What I did is I accepted that this was a bad habit and it was something that I was addicted to. And on top of all of this, how I accepted reality is I stopped using those studies which say that it's going to be masturbated every 5 days. Like, I stopped listening to those things. I stopped using those as justification. I knew for a fact that the type of man that I wanted to become wouldn't be doing that. So why should I do it now? Because if I carried on doing it, I would never become the type of man that I want to become. And then the last part of accepting reality is that one day I just sat down and I meditated on all the effects it had on me and whether I wanted to have those effects long term. Whether I wanted to view women as objects, to just see a woman and just be like, right. The next thing I did was negative visualization. So obviously during that time there were no physical side effects of it because I was just raging with testosterone. So it's like the sword was always working, everything was fine, there was only the psychological effects. But what I did is I looked 5, 10, 15, 20 years into the future. Specifically, I thought about having my wife in the future. So I did a visualization where I chose not to get over the addiction. So 15 years from now, my wife would be sitting in our bedroom and I would be in our bathroom rolling the dice. Not because I wanted to, not because I needed to, just because I was addicted to that action. I visualized how sad that would be, how unideal that would be for me. I then visualized my wife finding out that I was doing it. I visualized her feeling inadequate. I visualized all the pain that would be etched on her face. In minute detail, every single detail. The creasing of her eyes when she would cry, the tears going down her cheeks. I visualized all of that. And I felt the pain that I would have felt if I made my wife feel inadequate. And see, just from that negative visualization, it literally took 5 minutes. Just from doing that, I realized that it was something that I needed to stop now and stop it forever. The third thing that I did, and probably the most important thing, is that I sought support and accountability. See, for most of us, when we're trying to get over these habits, most of our friends will just be justifying it. They'll be like, it's not that bad, to be honest. Like, how bad can it be if you just roll the dice once every 2 weeks or once every week? How bad can it be if you just do that? So trying to get over a specific thing when you're in an environment that encourages it is extremely hard. So I think the most important thing I did was find someone who could hold me accountable and find someone who was going down the same path as me. And luckily for me, that was my best friend. He was also trying to stop watching. And in fact, he was further down the line from me. I was at a point where I was still watching every day. He was at a point where he hadn't watched in like 2 months, 3 months. And the best part about this is we were able to tell each other everything. He understood what I was going through and he was able to give me advice. We were able to talk about every single thing. You know the things that you're scared to talk about, like, you know, you wake up and you have a wet dream or something, the things that you just wouldn't say out loud. We would talk about that and it wouldn't even be in a condemning manner. We wouldn't even be like, how could that happen? We'd actually just laugh about it because it was funny. And I understand that many of you who are watching this will not have a friend like that. You will be in a friend group that encourages rolling the dice every day. And this will particularly be the case if you're younger. So back to the process that I took. So now on the fourth thing. The fourth thing that I did is I tackled it head on. And what I mean by that is I tackled the habit just by itself. You see in many of these books and many articles, many YouTube videos, when you're trying to get over a habit, they'll say you need to change your environment. You need to do it so that it's not accessible. And I tried that. Especially with this habit, I tried blocking the browsers. I tried restricting certain websites. But it's like I knew the password. And if I didn't know the password, I just reset my phone. In fact, I did that with my iPad. I forgot the password that I put the restrictions on with my iPad. And I just reset my iPad and deleted all my data. Simply because the addiction was that strong. So what you want to do is to be able to conquer this addiction when you have all the chances to watch, when you have no restrictions. Because when you can conquer something, when you cannot do something, even when you can, that's when you've truly conquered it. So I didn't block any browsers. I didn't put any restrictions on my phone. I simply told myself that I'm going to get over this addiction. And I'm going to get over it in the most beneficial way in the long term. And it was hard in the short term. So whenever I was bored, whenever I wanted to consume the content, to roll the dice, I didn't take the conventional advice of occupy yourself, go do something productive. I literally sat there and I felt that addiction. I felt the emotions I was feeling. I felt the urge that I had to pick up my phone and type that infamous website, to press search, to pick a video and to watch. Well, I didn't know what I was doing then, but I was being mindful of it. I was feeling those emotions. And after time, after I was sitting with those emotions, sometimes it even took 20 minutes, 30 minutes, they went away. And I did this for 2-3 months. And then after about 2 to 3 months, for myself and many of the people who have gone down this journey, after 2 or 3 months, you stop having urges of consuming the content and rolling the dice. And your urges just turn into actually doing it with women. You actually want to find a woman. And yeah. At that point, it's way more manageable. And it happens sporadically compared to these urges that can actually happen like every 2 or 3 hours. So that's the end of this video. And for those, if anyone's still watching right now, thank you for watching this long. See, I would like to tell you the truth is, I didn't want to post this video. I didn't want to record this video because I thought it would make me look less cool. But then I realized by recording this video, by sharing my story and by giving my advice and how I went through this, I would help thousands of people. Like my channel only has 500 subscribers now, but I know for a fact that it will have thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions a few years down the line. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Or maybe not enjoyed. The main thing I hope for is that you extracted an immense amount of value from this. And I personally hope that because of this video, hundreds, thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of people would have started their journey towards conquering porn addiction. Because I honestly think that is the drug that is killing the youth. It's not social media, it's porn addiction.